Welcome back to Share Your Story with Ellie. I'm your host, Ellie B. Besties Week continues with my best friend and roomie of 6 years, Kelsey. I truly do not even know where to begin to describe Kelsey and the impact her friendship continues to have on my life. Kelsey is truly the best friend everyone wishes they had, and she's truly become my sister. She is poised and patient, witty and wise, gracious and generous, funny and faithful. She's always first to say yes to the next fun activity and is always first to show up however you need her. We have the most fun together, and I couldn't imagine navigating life without her friendship. We truly complement each other in the best ways because our personalities are opposite, but our lives are centered on the same priorities. Over so many years, I've been afraid of being too much, but she just shows up and celebrates me for being exactly who I am. And she even encourages me to be that much more. I know God purposed Kelsey and I to be friends and almost sisters through this magical and miserable time in our 20s. Yes, shout out to Taylor Swift, through seasons of joy, grief, singleness, singing at the top of our lungs, dancing in the kitchen, and so much more. Kelsey shows me in action how to be a better friend each and every day, and I know you'll learn so much about being a friend, offering grace, and pursuing life with purpose. I am thrilled to invite you into a conversation with my best friend, Kelsey. Okay, hi Kels. Welcome to the Share Your Story with Ellie pod.
Hi.
We are here. We've made it.
We're here.
We're here. I feel as though this would be a blink twice if you're being held hostage situation. But it's okay because we're going to get through it.
Yes. If you know me, you know I love to be behind a microphone. My favorite.
Absolute favorite. But she does things to sacrifice for her friends. Okay, so I want to start with going through our October 12th holiday and what we celebrate because I feel like it's a good picture of us as roommates.
Okay. So we celebrate what we call our best day ever. We've been doing it how many years? 4?
I think this year was 5.
5. Wow.
Because I think it was 2018.
Okay. So we just declared this day in October our best day ever. So however many years ago, we had a Friday off. Like we took the day off because we were going to a wedding that evening. And it was just one of those days where everything was perfect.
Yeah.
So, like, the weather was amazing. It felt like a true fall day. I think I went on a walk in the morning.
Yeah, we
by
did the river walk. Yep.
Yeah. We had avocado toast for breakfast.
With your first introduction to the crusty Italiano from Fresh Market.
Yes. Just the little things. We had lunch with your mom.
Yep.
Which was always good.
Yeah.
And then after lunch, we went to our favorite bar. So it was like noon. And we went to pick up tequila as it was a gift for the wedding.
Yes, part gift, but then also part for ourselves for the wedding. Yeah.
Yes. And that's also where we met our favorite bartender, which is just funny.
mean, yeah, that's like where we cemented our friendship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It was that day. We might have had a shot of Fernet at lunchtime, which disgusting.
Yeah. Still recovering from, honestly.
Yeah.
All these years later.
And then it was just we went to a wedding, we had the best time. Yeah. We danced the night away. And
Yeah. And then we also went back to Grape and Grain, our favorite bar, and someone bought at our table bottles and bottles and bottles of champagne. Like they just kept coming. And we felt really special. Like we had table service because we were all dressed up and someone kept buying us champagne. And then we looked it up and it's like $7 at Total Wine. very, very cheap champagne. But it really was the best day ever. Like best time, best weather. It was just such a good overall day. So we've cemented it as our best day ever, and we celebrate it every year. Yeah. And it's true. It's true because I think we're in a season of life where either there's like giant milestones in life or there's like you can get stuck in your everyday routine. So to have things on the calendar that you look forward to and celebrate as traditions is just fun. So even last year, we wrote at our favorite restaurant that we were celebrating an anniversary. And they brought us champagne.
They're like, so you're celebrating an anniversary? And we're like, mm-hmm. And they're like, of what? And I'm like, just the best day ever, you know. We're crazy. It's the little things.
It's the little things. You have to. And it ended up being so much fun. Yeah. Okay, so let's back it up all the way to how we even became roommates.
Oh,
Because
goodness.
this is like one of my favorite stories to tell, is like a meet cute story, even though it's like a bestie story.
Okay.
Yeah.
You might have to help me.
Okay, I can do that.
But we got introduced. I'm 2 years older than Ellie, for everyone listening.
Yes.
So when she graduated from Florida, she moved back to Jacksonville. And we have a mutual friend named Megan,
Yes.
who we were both friends with in college, but she
Yes.
discipled Ellie. Ellie's senior year, right?
Yeah.
So your senior year of college. But she was also like one of my best friends in college. And she actually introduced, she was like, when Ellie moved back, she's like, you need to meet my friend Kelsey.
Yes. And Megan kept telling me when I would go home for weekends or whatnot, she was like, you've got to meet my friend Kelsey.
Yeah. Because she knew we were both from Jacksonville.
Right.
So she kind of set it up.
Go Megan.
Yeah. Which I still give her credit to this day. People are like, how'd you meet your roommate? And I'm like, Megan.
I know.
Yeah.
And then it was like, so we were introduced and joined a Bible study with a bunch of girls post me moving back. We all went to the same church. Majority of us went to Florida, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, almost all of us, but in different years. And a couple of people knew each other already, but not everybody. So we started doing this Bible study together. And then it was like after Bible study had started, we sort of started tracing back all the ways in which we could have been friends over the years, because we had so much like shared family history.
Yes. Like we grew up basically in the same neighborhood, like 5 minutes from each other. And then we realized our parents and like their siblings, like my aunt and uncle and all of Ellie's aunt and uncles, were like connected somehow from growing up in Jacksonville and in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like, I think my uncle dated your aunt
Yes.
in high school or something crazy.
Uh-huh.
And I think there was something else.
Yeah, your mom was like, "Oh, I used to have a crush on Richard."
Yes. My mom had a crush on Ellie's uncle.
Yes.
Just little things.
And then I feel like I remember mentioning it to either my mom or grandma or someone. They were like, "Oh, they used to carpool together sometimes to like middle school way back when," which is just so funny. So it was like all these little, or like you were in youth group with Breland, one of my best friends, and like y'all would have youth group and then dinner at the Loop. And we would always be at the Loop like that same night. Not that we were in the same youth group, but like we knew so many mutual people.
But never knew each other.
Which is so crazy because we probably overlapped at some point.
Yeah.
We just didn't know each other. Yeah. So it's like so like God to be like, yeah, all along y'all were doing, because I think it was once we started becoming friends, we realized we had so many of the same like joys and struggles of high school, of college, of all these like timelines in life, that we were probably doing the same thing. We just didn't know each other, which is crazy.
It is a friendship ordained by God, for sure.
No, definitely. And the best part about it was like we started in a Bible study and would carpool and stuff together because we were both living at home. And so we got like extra time together that we got to know each other more, because again, we grew up like 5 minutes away from each other. And then we were both in a season of like, okay, we're ready to move out and like have our own place with, at the time, another roommate too. So it like became a transition of like, okay, yeah, I think we're on the same page, and yep, we're just gonna start living together, which is so fun. Yeah.
And now we've lived together almost 6 years.
Yeah.
6 years in January. In the same house.
Isn't that the craziest thing?
Yeah, it is.
It like, I think when I speak it out loud to people, I don't realize that that's like, I know it's rare to some degree, but it's when I say it to other people and they're like, wait, 6 years in
Yeah.
the same exact house. Because even the story of coming together as roommates and trying to find a house was such a process.
Mhm.
We were, like, denied from multiple places, or not denied, but, like, it just didn't work out,
Yeah.
and we were
And
getting
I'm
so
glad it
frustrated.
didn't.
Right, and our roommate stipulations were, like, we wanted updated kitchen and bathrooms, wood floors, and walking distance to Bold Bean, our
Mhm.
favorite coffee shop. And the Lord so delivered on that by saying no to every other place we tried to go to. And now, I mean, RIP Bold Bean San Marco, we miss you. That's like really one of the tragedies I have to still process. Um, but he delivered that. And now we've been in our neighborhood and we love it so much for this many years.
Someone asked me, hold on, sorry.
Yeah.
Someone asked me, they're like, "Are you gonna live with Ellie forever?" And I'm like, "Well, I honestly hope not. Like, hopefully we move out and get married.
That is the goal.
But for the time, yes."
For the time, yes. That's the thing, is like, I feel like trying it's almost even hard to dictate why we work so well because we just do.
Mhm.
But why would we wanna live anywhere else until those days come, which, Lord, we're
Yeah.
praying is soon.
Mhm.
Yeah. But why do you think we work so well as roommates?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, once you've lived with someone so long,
Yeah.
I feel like we just kind of like flow so well.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, originally, like, I think we have like different enough personalities where we
Mhm.
balance each other.
I think so too.
Um, I don't know what else.
Yeah, I feel like, so much of it is, like, the challenge with being friends with or living with people is communication.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of communication that we almost don't have to do
Oh yeah.
because we're on the same page about stuff, which I think is rare to find, but I think that's because our personalities are different but complementary.
Yeah.
Like, Enneagram stuff, when we started getting really into it because of Annie F. Downs' podcast,
Mhm.
I feel like I'm a 2.5, as
Yeah.
you like to say, because 'cause I'm close to a 3. You're a 9.
Mhm.
And there's something even in the, like, balance of how do we help each other? How do we keep things at peace that I
Yeah.
think makes stuff work.
Yeah. Agreed.
And we just started doing stuff together, like, let's go on walks, let's go out for dinner to these
Yeah.
places. And it became not an argument over anything or us doing anything that differently, we just complement each other.
Mhm.
What would you say is, my greatest weakness as a roommate?
Greatest weakness?
Yeah.
Stop.
There's always room for improvement even after 6 years.
I don't think it's a weakness, but I am uber clean.
Yeah.
Like, it's bad. I might have a problem. But I also find joy in cleaning, so
Yes.
it's a stress reliever for me. And I wouldn't say you're like the cleanest person.
I am not.
You're not messy.
I'm not dirty,
Yeah.
I'm messy.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Um,
because I just leave piles of things places
yeah,
where they don't go.
yeah. But I think it works that I'm the clean one.
Yeah,
Like, I find joy in vacuuming.
which is such a gift to
And
me
I
because
don't think you do.
No, not at all. Not at all. And now that we have Annie B, like,
Yeah.
vacuuming is required,
Multiple times a week.
yeah, if not every
Well,
other
for
day.
my sanity.
No, I mean, it's required by the way
Yeah.
that she sheds, for sure.
Yeah.
But the fact that you can find joy in it and not be like, "I absolutely hate every ounce of this,"
Yeah.
is a very good thing. No, I feel like in a funny way, similar to whoever asked you that question of, like, "Will you live with Ellie forever?" It's like, it has been obviously as friends, but, like, preparation for what marriage season will be like,
Yeah.
because you have to learn how someone operates and does things or how to communicate.
Yeah. And when you originally move in with someone, you have to figure out all of those things, like
Yeah.
how, like what they do, how
Mhm.
they are clean, if they're not clean.
Right.
I don't know. But now we just have such a system,
We do.
even with like the trash.
That's 100% what I was thinking of.
Like, I take the trash down and Ellie
Uh-huh.
takes the trash can up.
Without a conversation.
Same
That's
for
just, like, what
recycling.
happens.
It's just our
Yeah.
process.
100%. And, like, and there are little things you learn, which I know is not, like, obviously all of marriage, but it's like that stuff that I know you hate unloading the dishwasher. That
Mhm.
doesn't bother me that much, just like I don't love vacuuming, but it happens without a conversation or without a like, "Ugh, seriously, you
Yeah.
left me to do this?" Like, there's not a resentment there,
No.
which I feel like are the little things that can trip people up early. Me speaking from absolutely no experience.
Stop.
But it is stuff like that. It's like, I feel like the beauty of being in it, for a long time or a long season is you develop systems or,
Mhm.
like, um, patterns in which you share things. Like, it's building a household, and I think that's the difference between why wouldn't you wanna live somewhere else or have your own place or
Yeah.
have your own space? It's like we have calendars that overlap, like family stuff that overlaps so much, and there's things, like, in small ways, the trash, where it's like, "Oh, no," like, we know we cook on these days or these days. We go
Yeah.
to sushi on Thursdays before church. We have, like, a system and those, like, larger celebration events that it's like the the things we know are our strengths and weaknesses we complement each other in.
Yeah.
And I also think we have fun.
We do. And we really are always on the same page
Yeah.
to where I feel like we're both thinking we wanna, like, go to Mossfire for happy hour, but, like and then once we say it, we're like, "Oh my gosh, yes. I was thinking that too." And that's just how our life works.
It is, and it's so funny because there's so much that goes uncommunicated
Mhm.
that we're just automatically on the same page about, like, where what time do we wanna get down to the beach? Yeah, I was thinking if we stop by and get coffee, and you're like, "Perfect, that was already in my head."
Mhm.
That is so helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think part of it is we've walked a balance well of how do you like, there's things we still want, right? Like, we still want marriage, we still
Yeah.
want, um, a lot of things, like, work-wise or whatever, but we don't discount what this season is, and we
Yeah.
make it a lot of fun.
Yeah. I always say, I know when I get or if I get married,
Yeah.
I'll look back on, like, these single years, and people don't get that
Yep.
sometimes if they get married so young, but I'm so
Yeah.
grateful for I honestly am so grateful to have been single in my
Yeah.
20s,
Same.
um, because it really was so fun.
Yeah. I think about that all the time, especially when there's, like even this past Tuesday night, like, launching the podcast, whatnot, we're out and about at a restaurant, then we go to, Grape Green, our favorite bar, and then we're walking home, and a lot of people don't get that in
Mhm.
their 20s, and, like, being I just think of, like, multiple nights where it's, like, what we like to call a school night, where
Yeah.
we're just, like, out to dinner or playing pickleball till late, and then we come home and we put on our favorite playlist and set up the mini disco ball
Yeah. Yeah.
and, like, dance around in the kitchen, and who has those kind of memories,
Mhm.
um, through this season? And not that we don't want the certain milestones that other people have had, but there's, like, a difference in being grateful for the things that you have versus just wishing it away.
Yeah.
Because I think the day when we do get married, because I'm speaking it in hope and
Mhm.
confidence, it's going to be so brutal to move out. Like, I could cry thinking about it.
Yeah. Gonna be a lot of change.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna mourn my single life.
Same. Mainly because we're like, "Don't talk to us about a budget."
Yeah. Oh, I don't even we can't even go there. My
No, we can't.
greatest fear in life, someone giving me a budget that's not
Seriously.
my own.
I know. No, it's true because right now we're like, "Do we want Up and go to a concert or, like, wine downs next weekend? Who all's
Yeah.
coming in town? What are we doing?" Like, there's
Mhm.
at this point, not that we won't love it, but there's definitely a certain level of independence that we enjoy,
Oh, yeah.
and just the non-communication. Like, I think that is gonna be such an adjustment,
Yeah.
but we're also ready for it.
We'll get there one day.
Yeah, we will, we will. Um, so one of the things that we walked through as roommates, which, was early in being roommates,
Yeah.
was my mom being diagnosed with cancer,
Mhm.
and I feel like it was really early in us being in Bible study together
Yeah.
that I even was like, "Can we pray for this? Because I feel like I know something's wrong, but I don't really know what it is yet."
Mhm.
And that was before we even lived together.
Yeah.
And then there was kind of this moment of, like, once my mom was diagnosed, like, do I still move out? Is
Mhm.
it still something that, like, I should be not walking away from, but not being right there and present the
Yeah.
whole time?
But she wanted that for you. She wanted you to
Yeah.
live your life and experience being in your 20s, because that's,
Yeah.
I mean, walking through that in your early 20s, 'cause how old were you?
Um, when she was diagnosed, I was 22.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and that's the time when you're supposed to be, like, figuring out your life and moving in with roommates and having
Mhm.
fun.
Mhm.
Um, but so yeah, you were trying to figure out, should I move out? Should I move in with these girls, or should I stay home and
Yeah.
like be with my mom during this?
Yeah.
But she wanted that for you. She wanted you to go and live your life like you should.
She did, and I think, I mean, beyond so much wisdom that she taught me, that was one of the biggest things of she was like, "You have to separate and have that life," and I think there was so much of me that was like, "Well, she's gonna be healed, and she's
Mhm.
so it'll only be for a short time, and then I can move out," but it was the greatest gift of being like I think I was such a homebody, especially, like, with my mom, and you and I are similar in that, like, we have really, really close relationships with our mom, which I
Yeah.
think is another reason why we see eye to eye on so
Yeah.
much, um, and moving out, like, this feels like home, and it
Mhm.
established a home and a place for me that I think if it had been completely still attached to, like, my mom and the house I grew up in, I would not be who I am, or I'd be a shell of who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your experience like walking alongside me in that
Oh goodness.
as a roommate?
Um, well, I mean, that's not something you ever want to walk alongside anyone with.
Yeah.
Um, but especially when you're so young.
Mhm.
Like I think about it and I'm like, we were so young.
Babies. Yeah.
Um, walking alongside you during that time. I mean, I think what comes with grief is you just kind of have, like, as a friend, you just
Mhm.
kind of have to attune yourself to the friend that's walking
Mm,
through it.
that's a good word.
Um, and just kind of, I don't know, like feel it out, I guess, and
Yeah.
be attuned to what they need at what time.
Right.
Because sometimes you would need just to cry
Mm.
and just to talk through some things. So I would just listen.
Yeah.
But then I think sometimes you just needed to laugh.
Yeah.
Like after you would talk through some things,
Yeah.
like, and then we can turn it into laughter.
Yep.
Um, but I don't know. I think it's just you just have to attune yourself to them.
Oh my gosh, I'm crying. Mainly because that really is such the gift, of you and our friendship is you I think attuned is the perfect word,
Yeah.
which is probably similar to just our communication in general, not having to be verbal all the time.
Yeah.
But there was this element of, like, I know I don't have to be any which way. Like, I don't have to say what I need as much. You were just attuned and
Yeah.
in tune with what was going on.
Yeah. And I think even as a friend, like, I literally never had the words. Like, there's
Mhm.
really nothing I could ever say.
Yeah.
It was hard to find the words to, like, comfort you or, um, anything like that, but I really think it's just, like, showing up
Yeah.
and figuring out what they need at when.
Right. I mean, I think that's true of us in general. Like, the thing about us is I'm gonna have too many words.
Yeah.
And you have less words. Our favorite comparison is, Dave and John on the Dadville podcast. And but the thing is, I'm the person who says too much all the time, and then you come in with, like, 3 words, and I'm like, "That was way more wise than anything I could have come up with," or way funnier, or way
Oh my
whatever.
gosh.
But I think that's true. I think grief in your 20s too is so different because you're in a place where everybody else is, like, establishing their life. Like
Yeah.
you said, like, "This is fun," or "I have freedom now," or "I'm making money and a job, and I get
Mhm.
to make my own decisions." And so being in a place of being, like, so extremely, like, life is different and changing, and it's sad, and there's so much loss involved, while everybody else is just like, "This is fun."
Yeah.
not that there aren't hard things in anyone's life or in
Yeah.
your 20 or anything, but it's just you're in a completely different place where a lot of people at that age, which I wouldn't wish that on anyone else, but, like, you just don't know how to relate to where people are because
No.
you're just such an extreme, but I think that is also true that you don't have to have words.
Yeah. No. Um, but I but I do think, like, during that time, you did such a good job of, like, balancing everything.
Mm, thank
Like,
you.
even going through such a hard thing, you still celebrated your friends, and you still were there for them, and you still had fun.
Yeah.
Um, because there is both. It's both
Yeah.
and. Like, you can have grief and you can also have joy,
Yeah.
and you did that so beautifully.
Thank you. Thank you. I remember, like, one thing that sticks out, like, so extremely in that scenario is the first Friendsgiving we had post my mom passing. Well,
Mm.
actually, there's 2 memories I can think of. One was, like, right after we were all in Charleston, and we were on a rooftop bar, and, like, all of a sudden, because it was only a few weeks after my mom passed.
Yeah, like a
A
little over a month, I think.
Yeah, you're right, you're right. So we're sitting on that rooftop at a bar, and then all of a sudden, like, I could just tell. I was like, the weight of everything. I would get, like, really vivid pictures of stuff that I'd experienced or witnessed or just, like it's almost like a film comes over
Mhm.
your eyes because 'cause you're just not there anymore, and I remember, like, looking over the rooftop and you being like, "Okay, I feel like it's time to go. What
Yeah.
if we just went and closed out and just started walking?" And you didn't have to say, like, "What's wrong? What are you thinking about?" It was just like, "Okay, we need to exit from where we are."
Yeah,
And then I remember Friendsgiving, I w like, was paralyzed in my room, and I think you were working.
probably.
Still in events.
Back when I used to work in events.
Yeah, and your time was definitely not your own.
No.
Um, and I was paralyzed, just, like, so sad because I was like, I don't know how to just, like, be myself, which is,
Mhm.
like, bubbly and loud, and I don't even know how to ask questions because I feel like no one knows me right now.
Yeah.
I don't even know me right now. And you came home from work, came into my room in the dark, everyone was at our house.
Yes. Literally.
So you came home from work into a situation with a lot of people, and then walked into my dark room and you were like, "Just cry, just be here. It's gonna be
Mhm.
fine. People are outside. You can talk as much as you want. You don't have to talk as much as you want. Just, like, be where you are."
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. That and then I also remember, if we're really taking it back, because I think, like, your, um one of the biggest gifts is that you just show up.
Mhm.
And the day that my mom passed, you were just downstairs sitting in the house.
Yeah,
You left work.
I did. I told my boss, I was like, "I gotta go." It was like noon.
What made you wanna be there, or why was that the choice?
I think I asked you, I was like, "Do you need anything? Like, do you need me?" And you were like, "Yes."
Yeah.
So, because like, that I don't know, like, on that day, like, I don't know if you just needed space, if you just wanted to be with your family,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, so I just literally went into my boss's office, I was like, "I gotta go." Just literally left work, and he was very understanding.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I just drove to your house, and we just sat together,
Yeah.
and then I ended up curling your hair later that day to make you feel better. Do you remember
Yes.
that?
Oh my gosh, now that you say that, I didn't remember that, but now that you say that, yes.
You were like, "I just need to, like, feel good." So I'm like, "Let we just curled your hair." It probably looked terrible too.
No. Would've been better than anything I'd been working for the last month. Because that was the crazy part is I, like, moved out for, like,
Mhm.
6 weeks.
Yeah. So I really would only see you if I, like, went over I would, like, bring you coffee or something every now
Yeah.
and then to your parents' house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember even that day because I just had such hope that
Mhm.
God was gonna heal my mom,
Yeah.
and I think it was that day that you came over and sat. And again, we were still newly friends and newly
Mhm.
roommates, like, we'd only been living together for what, like a year and a half?
Yeah, that
Because
sounds
June
right.
2019, January
Mhm.
2018, I feel like.
Which is crazy.
Insane. And I texted you like, "She's gone, but I still believe
Mhm.
he'll do it."
Yeah.
What's that like receiving a text like that?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's like, I don't know, heartbreaking.
Yeah,
No text you ever wanna get from your friend.
yeah.
Um, I don't know.
But then you showed
It's
up.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's, um, beautiful beautiful advice for anyone, period, but especially someone in a season of need is just asking, like, "What can I do?" And a lot of times it was the practical stuff, like,
Mhm.
"Can I bring you coffee? I know rent is due. Can I come pick up your check?"
Yeah.
Like, "Can I" and it was just that was the moment that allowed me to separate, remember, like, "Oh, I have other life outside of, like, what's going on in the house right now,"
Yeah.
because it was so overwhelming.
Mm.
I'm just thankful because really I think watching so many of my mom's friends, like, show up and be there, I also have such a hard time asking for help
Yeah.
or knowing, like, I'm in a position of need and I have to tell someone that I need something,
Mhm.
especially because I was outpouring so much there that to have someone ask a question about me specifically and just show up over and over again when I didn't know how to ask for it. I'm just so grateful.
Oh, I love you.
I love you, cause really, like, only God, cause he knew, just cause it's a lot to ask,
Yeah.
but you did it anyway.
What else are you supposed to do? I think with me, like, I'm not a words person, so I'm more of, like, action.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know what to say half a lot of the time. Like, I don't always have the right words, but I think just actions for me.
mm, which is so the Lord because I'm like, I'll send a 45 paragraph
Yeah.
text, but sometimes people just need coffee and to sit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a lot of puzzles.
We did. We did do a lot of puzzles
Uh-huh.
because I think it's just something to, like, put your mind to,
Yeah,
a distraction.
yeah. It was such a it's like forces you to be outside of your own brain
Yeah.
almost, and there's something comforting, I think, because so much wasn't making sense and wasn't working, to
Mhm.
find a piece that fits
Yeah.
together and create a whole it was like,
Wow.
"Okay, there's sense to this
Mhm.
because nothing else makes sense right now."
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you? Because grief is different for everybody, and it is an ongoing thing.
Mhm.
But what were the things where you're like, "Oh, the season is changing a little bit more?" Could you see those things, or was it just like, just gonna keep showing up?
I think just gonna keep showing up.
Yeah.
One thing I want you to I also want you to tell people, like, what like, give advice, like,
Yeah.
if you have a friend grieving, like, what can you do?
Yeah. I think often in grief, you're so overwhelmed by whatever your situation is. Um, you just feel like there's nothing else outside of this. It's all consuming. And the biggest piece of advice is just allowing that person to be where they are. I
Mhm.
think from a lot of other people, whether it was communicated or not, like it's just probably the way I process and internalize, not necessarily a pressure other people were bringing. But I had this sense of like, I have to be who I've always been, which
Mhm.
is like entertaining or telling a story
Yeah.
or I mean, I am who I am and I love a spotlight. So like I felt like in that weird time between when my mom was diagnosed and we all moved in together and there was so much like friends and fun, it like put me in a box of not a box, but like I served the role of being like happy and
Yeah.
laughing, but also the person of like I pray really hard and I'm a person of faith and hope who like regardless of the situation. And when my mom passed, it became like
okay, now where do I fit in?
Mhm.
Because I'm so devastated and disappointed, and I don't know how to be who I've been to these people for a year, a year plus, because the other layer was, like, I was surrounded by people who didn't know me and my mom really well.
Yeah.
So they didn't know just how close we were, um, they didn't even know my mom without cancer, without
Mhm.
being fully her. Um, so I think the biggest first piece of advice would just be to, like, allow someone to be exactly where they are. Like,
Yeah.
if they're in a day of being angry about it, let them be angry, don't try to change it. If they're in a day of just being sad, allow them to be sad. If they need a distraction that feels like, I mean, obviously, you don't wanna teeter on, like, too unhealthy, but
Mhm.
there are days where, like, you just have to be a wild or no, wild is not the right word because 'cause I'm not a wild person.
You're so wild.
But more so just, like, I need to go shopping for, like, a whole day and not think about it,
Yeah.
and buy the champagne and go get a blowout, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and then the second would just be asking questions. I felt like especially and everybody has their own fears and the way they process things, so there's absolutely no judgment, but I feel like the people, um, that I'm really so grateful for that came around me during that season, my cousins especially, because they were, like, with us every single day
Yeah.
and knew what we walked through. I can just think of a few people off the top of my head that were really great at just being like, "How are you today? What's going on? What can I bring you? What can I offer you?"
Mhm.
Um, asking questions because it just feels so isolating and paralyzing. I remember Mary Claire calling me in college and being like, "I don't know how to tell people that I'm not okay."
Yeah. Especially when you're in college.
Yeah, because everybody's so not in that place.
No.
So, to have someone just ask a question of like, "What can I bring you? What do you need today?" And sometimes that it really was like, I remember you asking like, "Can I bring you coffee today? Our favorite latte from Bold Bean,"
Mhm.
which we still have now.
Mhm.
Um, but it was when we sat down that was like, then I could talk, but I didn't know how to text. I didn't know how to
Yeah.
yeah. So I feel like those would be my biggest pieces.
Mm. One thing I think you taught me, but then I've had a few other friends lose their parents over the past few
Yeah.
years, and what they always say is like people will like flood you for a few weeks after
Yep.
you lose somebody, or a few weeks to a month after, and then, and no fault to them, but their lives move on and
Yep.
yours doesn't.
Yep.
Um, so just like keep checking in.
Yeah. Consistency.
Yeah.
No,
Like
that's
two,
so
three
true.
months down the road.
That's so true. It was like for those few weeks, so many flowers everywhere, cards
Mhm.
arriving all the time. The fridge is full of so much Zoe's kitchen.
Yeah.
Um, and then people go back to their lives, and it was definitely a place of like, "Okay, yours is still the same, but mine is never going to be the same."
Yeah.
I'm having to relearn everything I knew. Every single thing I do is different.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, even if it's, like, the practical I think you teach me a lot, and there are a few people who teach me a lot about, like, practical reminders of things, even if it's just, like, setting a calendar reminder in your phone of, like for especially the first year, the 5th was always just really hard because it was, like,
Mhm.
another month.
Yeah.
So even, like, practical ways of being like, "On the 5th, I'm gonna check in and send a text," or, "On the 5th, I'm just gonna send $5 coffee gift card just thinking of you," because I think especially when it's a parent, what you lose is that sense of, like, someone taking care of you,
Mhm.
and being in the position I was in, it, like, shifted so much, like, my mom and I's roles were, like, now I'm taking care of her in
Yeah.
different ways, that even just those small things, like, "Go get breakfast on me," or, like, "Let's go have lunch this day. Are you free?" It's, like, such a good practical thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's true. Um, one of the things that I think you're really, really good at is having longtime friends.
Mhm.
Like, you have a group of people
Mhm.
that you've been friends with since, like, middle school, high school.
Elementary school.
True.
Mhm.
Yeah. How? Why?
How? Great question. I don't know. I wouldn't know. I don't know how to explain how, but I have 4 best friends, and we've actually been friends for majority of our lives.
Mhm.
Like we like to joke, Connor and I met in like the daycare at Jazzercise when our moms would work out because they took the same Jazzercise class.
Bring back jazzercise.
Yeah. So we literally are like, we met when we were babies.
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't really actually friends till a few years later, but we've all been friends. Most of us since elementary school. We met another girl in high school, but we've been friends with her ever since. So it's like 20 years of friendship.
Yeah.
I don't really know how.
Yeah.
I think we just like committed to each other.
Mhm.
Like I have no doubt in my mind that we'll be friends till we're old.
Yeah.
Um,
But I
but
feel like enough people go through seasons of, like, drama or fallouts or any of that, and y'all
yes,
are so consistent.
yeah, we never really had that much drama within our friend group.
Yeah.
We've definitely cried a lot of tears together, especially like the end of high school,
Mm.
first few years of college,
Yeah.
when we're all just trying to figure out who we are.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Now we've been the last one's getting married in a month.
Not the last one.
I know. Well, besides me. But we've all been in each other's weddings. There's now babies coming into the group.
So fun.
It's crazy. We're going from having 1 kid in our friend group to having 4 in the spring,
Oh,
which will
twins,
just
go Avery.
make dinners so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Number 1, I think in general as a group, y'all are so welcoming because being someone who's only been friends for, like, the last 5, 6 years, like, I get texts from them or they come to my
Mhm.
birthday or whatever,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's a character quality that all of you have is just being welcoming.
Mhm. They're the best people.
They are. They're so fun.
Yeah.
How do you maintain, as you talked about, like, is there ever a thought in your head of, like, as they're walking through this season and you're not, that you're ever like, "I wish that," or "I wish I had that," or is it not even a thought?
Yeah, it's hard being the single one in the group, for
Yeah.
sure. Um, I don't know.
'Cause, like, I know you've talked about before, just, like, you I think it's different when you approach something with jealousy of, like, "I
Oh,
want
yeah.
what they have," or it's just, like, I can be still wanting for something while still celebrating them 100%.
Oh, yeah. I think I fall into that for sure.
Yeah, I don't think you've ever shown up at a single event being like, "Ugh."
No. Like, I've been to so many showers and baby showers and bachelorettes and weddings and all the things.
Yeah,
But I honestly just, I don't know. I'm just so happy for them. So
yeah.
it's fun to celebrate them.
Do you have a reason why it's so important to you to stay connected? Because it like you talked about in different seasons, it gets harder if people move away. Like,
Yeah.
Anna's literally on the opposite side of the country.
Yeah.
Or,
She is.
like, Connor just moved houses with
Mhm.
her little Fletch, who's so cute. Why does it stay important to you to stay connected? Because it gets more challenging.
Oh, yeah. It does because then everyone is being pulled in so many directions. Like when you marry someone, you now have like 2 lives combined. So you're
Yeah.
doing your things and your husband's things and trying to
Mhm.
keep up with all of the people. Um, but we try to we actually do have a thing called mandatory fun where we try to see each other once a month just to like stay connected. And
Mhm.
it doesn't always end up like perfectly every single month.
Right.
Um, it's just an important friendship. So
And I think as life grows busier, it's especially I think our pastor talks about this a lot, like, you can't create a group of people that you can depend on in the midst of an emergency,
yeah,
and there've definitely been seasons with, obviously, like, what we just talked about with me, but, like, even in that group of people where there just is all of a sudden tragedy and
Yeah.
sadness, that to build up through the consistency of mandatory fun
Mm-hmm.
when it turns into a season of hard, it's like they're there for both.
Yeah.
I don't think I know this about you. When did you become a believer?
Oh, you don't know this?
I feel like I know when it became like more your own.
Okay. Well, I would say almost my whole life. I mean, I
Yeah.
grew up in the church. I was born Catholic, baptized in the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
Um,
So you did confirmation and everything?
oh yeah, all the Catholic things. So yes, I was confirmed.
That is what you say. I was confirmed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what they say.
That's what they say. No,
And
you're
my
right.
little
You're right.
white gown, my headband, my white headband.
I knew there had to be a headband.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'll have to find a picture.
Please.
If there's a-
Shutterfly, I bet,
yeah.
has it.
No, no.
Your monthly Shutterfly updates.
Yes, I love those. But then at some point, I think it was around like middle school, my mom decided she wanted us to be involved in a youth group.
Mm,
So she decided we were going to go to the Methodist church in our neighborhood
yeah.
because they had a really great youth group. So that was probably like 7th grade.
Yeah.
So got involved in youth group, did all the things, went on the winter retreats where you like every year you're like fired up about
Yep.
your faith.
Rededicated
Yes.
completely. Yes.
All of those things. And then I went to college and I kind of like fell off from like going to church. Like I wouldn't say I've never didn't have a faith.
Right.
I just didn't live it out in college.
Like the discipline
Mhm.
part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So didn't really go to church in college until my senior year. I decided like we went to a few of these like nighttime
Yeah.
church services.
Yeah. Greenhouse.
Greenhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. On campus.
Yeah.
It was great.
So good. And then my last semester of college, I moved to Atlanta for to do an internship.
Hmm.
And I started going to a really big church there. And that's kind of where my faith like became my own.
Yeah.
Because I just remember, so I was also in a relationship in college for 3 years. That was not
What you desire
Yeah,
for marriage.
I don't want to like
Yes. No, because it was the right thing for the right
Yes,
time.
yes.
And it taught you a lot, but it was just not what you desire for marriage.
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you for giving me those words.
Words.
But I just remember being in a church service and I went to Passion City
Yeah.
Church in Atlanta. And it was my first experience with like a mega church.
Hmm.
Which was it's just different.
It's so different, especially like growing up Ortega Methodist. Like everybody does everything together.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the youth group is their own like giant friend group to a
Yeah.
degree. Yeah.
It for sure. Maybe a little like cultish.
We
In a-
teeter
in
on
a
the
good
line in a
way.
lot of ways.
But I just remember being in a sermon and Louis, the pastor, literally like did this picture of a triangle.
Mm.
And he had like you at one corner on the bottom and then a person like that you're in a relationship with on the other one.
Right.
And then the top was God.
Mm.
And he's like, if you're not both moving together
Yes.
to like join to the top with God, then that's not like what you should be in. And I was like, I gotta change my life.
Yeah.
But I think that's where my faith became real.
Yeah.
And I wanted to actually start like living it out.
So were y'all were long distance, obviously.
Mhm.
And did you just like break up pretty quickly?
Yeah, pretty much.
This is where I also learn from you because Lord knows I drag out every decision. I'm like, I don't know, picking it apart every single way. But you like heard the call and you said,
Yeah.
this is it.
Yeah. And things had been like I don't know.
Maybe moving that direction
Yeah,
anyway.
for sure.
Yeah.
For a little while. But yeah. So that was really where I decided to like have my own relationship with the Lord.
Mm.
Um, and then I moved back here to Jacksonville right after I graduated.
Yeah.
Left Atlanta, moved back here. And then I was just like searching for that kind of church experience.
Yeah.
Like tried a few different churches because I didn't want to like go back to the Methodist church with my family when I moved back here. So I wanted to find my own thing.
Yeah. Completely make it your own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I started going to another big church.
Yep.
And I've been there ever since.
There's your name.
Yeah.
Post sushi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much
Yeah.
the gist of it.
I feel like a lot of people we know have a story of faith attached to a relationship.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a thing God did, especially in maybe our generation. I don't
I
know.
know.
Like, it seems like there's so many people who have the story of like, I've found my identity or I was attached to this relationship, but I know it's not the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And for me, it was a big separation of like, what is your own identity and what are you really searching for here?
Yeah. But I don't think I would have like known what I wanted if I hadn't been in that relationship and like experienced that side of it all.
I 100% agree because then it's this tension where you're in it and you're like, I think this is what I want. This it should be, I think,
Mm-hmm.
what I want, while still having that tension of this isn't adding up to what I thought it would be,
Yeah.
or it's not giving me. Yeah, okay, so perfect transition. I can't speak, Kelsey. It's like you've done a podcast before.
Yeah.
Um, so now let's talk about what you do want and dating and singleness as we walk this very weird line.
Oh gosh. My favorite topic.
I know.
My favorite question. So are you dating anyone?
It's so painful. It's so loaded. I say all the
Yeah.
time, these streets these days, it's just rough.
I'm like, yeah, I'm dating, but not the one.
Yeah.
Anyone.
Yeah. Not a one.
Yeah.
Or the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know, it's such an annoying topic to have, and I'm sorry about it,
It's okay.
partly.
It's a big part of our life.
Yeah, it is, and I think people need to hear encouragement or even the place of, like, we're just frustrated.
Yeah.
Like, we had that conversation even this week of, like, so much has changed, and yet so much it's like, wait, we're coming up on another holiday season.
Yeah. My mom is like, I always feel so bad for you because I know you hate Thanksgiving because you know everyone's going to ask you if you're dating anybody.
Yep,
And
the
I'm like,
oyster
but
roast.
honestly, they don't even ask me anymore.
Really?
Yeah. I think they've just stopped, which is great.
Yeah. Okay, but we've also talked about there is this tension, like you just talked about, with now that you knew what you wanted, it's
Mhm.
hard for people when they ask you, "Why aren't you dating anyone?" to fully explain.
Yeah. What I want
Yeah.
or why I'm not dating somebody,
Yeah.
anybody.
Yeah, not just anybody.
Because then they all think you're just picky
Right, and it's not that,
and that you should lower your standards.
and we are not about that.
No. I'm always like, I'm picky in the things that matter.
Mm. Your job puts a lot of that into context too.
Yeah. And I don't know. Not picky, but I don't really like that word.
I don't like it either.
But I mean, you want someone with a character.
Mhm.
I feel like what I'm looking for, I look at like how I want to raise kids,
Yeah.
like want to shape little people.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And then yeah, a lot of it comes from like my job. I see a lot of families going through a lot of really hard things and how that can make or break a marriage.
Yeah.
And I mean, we don't take marriage lightly
No.
either.
No.
It's a big thing.
Forever commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like there's just so many, and I think we've experienced this in our 20s, but like there's just so many things in your life that are so unpredictable.
Yes.
Like I just think people think like they're gonna get married and have this like beautiful, easy life, and that's not the reality.
Yeah, that's not what's
Like,
promised to us.
yeah, people get sick, and I'm always like this one woman who literally got married and then was like had a stroke, and now her whole life has the
Yeah.
rest of her life will be different. But like, you want to marry someone that is going to love you no matter what.
Yeah, and stand alongside
Yeah.
you. Yeah. I think there's a difference that we've learned, which is the arrival is not marriage.
Yeah.
The arrival is like the life that you lead, and are you, I mean, that like phrase that everybody uses, but like, are you running the same race, the same
Yeah.
pace, the same direction? I feel like it's a lot of almost speaking the same language. I think there's a place that like being a follower of Christ, you know that you're surrendered to a certain degree. Like, and I think that's true even in friendship of
Mhm.
knowing like you are serving not just your own best interest, but like you're pursuing something outside of yourself. And I think in marriage, like being wholly committed to Christ first, like that triangle
Mhm.
is like we're both walking in the same direction. So no matter the path, if that is like celebration or
Yeah.
tragedy or whatever, we both know our North Star is the same and we're speaking the same language. Cause I can't imagine being on a completely different page when it comes to like you have kids and what are they going to learn or believe?
Yeah. It's like faith shapes pretty much or it should, but
Yeah.
it shapes a lot of my decisions and like my life.
Mm-hmm.
So you really just want I want that one thing that
Yeah.
we have a common faith.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, it shapes the way I spend money with my finances,
Mm-hmm.
how I want to raise my kids,
Yeah.
just little things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've walked through a few struggles
Yeah,
on the journey
we
to
have.
find that. Can you talk about your book that you want to write?
Oh goodness, I feel like I'm gonna get judged for this.
No. I think people will automatically want to buy it and be like, when's it coming out?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna write a book one day called "It's Worse Than You Think." Dating.
I love it so much.
Maybe I can change it to like dating in your 20s. I
Yeah,
do feel like it's getting better.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. It's just a lot of people make a lot of bold statements for something.
Yes. Like you probably wouldn't be, but I'm always shocked at the things men say to me.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's fine. We're all trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's a process.
Yes. It that is for sure. What is the hope there? Like what is the why continue to not change your standards? We've been through seasons where we're like, I'm giving up. This is not worth it.
Yeah. I mean, we've dated a lot of people that weren't for us.
Yeah. And it
Nothing
doesn't
against them.
no. It doesn't change any positive quality or
They
effect they've
could
had.
probably say the same thing about me, and that's fine.
1000%. I am overcome with that sometimes thinking
Yeah.
about like who I've been in past seasons or the way I know I've hurt people
Mm-hmm.
because uh, I'm still a work in progress,
Yeah.
aren't we all? And I think relationships are one of the greatest agents of like bringing out the best and worst in you. And sometimes I think about like who I was not okay to
Yeah.
that person or some of the things I said.
Yeah. That's okay.
Hmm. But why keep hoping that he's coming? Because it's easier to give up.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I do think it is like a God-given desire
Yeah.
to get married. So why not just keep being crazy and hoping for it?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. This one pastor said something recently. I think I wrote it down, but it was something along the lines of like, if it's God-given,
Mhm.
why not truly believe that in his timing he will give it to you?
Yeah.
Like if it's a God-given desire,
Right.
like have that crazy faith that it's from him. So like in his timing, it will come to pass.
Yes.
Something along those lines. I
Yes.
probably just butchered it, but
No. I think two things on that regard. That is one of the things that God's always trying to work out our own faith and our own heart in the midst of these desires. And one of those is like, I have to work out the fact that I believe that he has what's best.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes in person, timing,
Yeah.
all of the above, because I want to, it literally says in the Bible, he withholds no good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'm like, no, I feel like he's withholding from me.
Yeah.
I feel like he's not giving me that. But getting to the point in faith where I wholeheartedly believe and trust that
Yeah.
is part of what he's working out. That and then Mr. Ben Stewart,
Mm-hmm.
who is for me the authority in all things
Yeah.
dating
Oh, yeah.
and marriage and the way you want it. I remember listening, I think it was last year, maybe the year before, to a sermon where he was like, I used to have so many people in my office at Texas A&M and be like, so you believe that Jesus is the Son of God?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, yes. You believe that he came down from heaven, was born to a virgin? Yes. He lived the earth and healed people and did miracles? Yes. He then died on a cross and was raised again? Yes. So he now is back in heaven and you're going to also be there one day because he paid the debt for your sins? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And do you believe that he is interested in your love life and wants to provide the right person for you?
Yeah.
No. And it's like, that's who we are. We're like, we can believe the absolute
I know.
most. Because when you think about like what our faith is centered on, and I believe it to my bones.
Oh, yeah. Like, no doubt.
Absolutely no doubt. And then I get to a point of like, is he going to provide a husband and the thing I want? And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It challenges me.
So we'll just keep hoping.
Yeah, we will. We will keep hoping.
Yeah. Live our best single life.
Yes.
The best
That's
we
what we
can.
do. Yeah, that's what we do. And I feel like that's in big ways and in small. In
Mhm.
fun ways, we celebrate dinners and like, let's go on a trip and see this concert.
Yeah. That
We still
doesn't
have to get,
mean go ahead.
no, I said I was just gonna say we still have to get to Europe, but economy
Yeah.
says no. But what were you gonna say? That doesn't mean what?
What was I gonna say?
Like have fun and celebrate in big ways and in small.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, that doesn't mean that there are times when being single isn't hard. Because
Yeah,
it is.
it is.
It is. But
Yeah, going to weddings single, like being
Yeah.
the person that pays for yourself all the time, or
yeah.
our biggest thing is the yard work and stuff around this place, and like, which shout out to Clay for being superintendent,
Yes.
Kelsey's dad these days. But the amount of times we've been in the yard cleaning something up and been like, we're not supposed to be doing
No.
this. Where's the boy that's gonna take out all the trash with all the bugs?
Yeah, like I don't ever want to take out trash again.
No,
One day.
one day that will be the uncommunicated chore that we say,
Yes.
this is where we draw the line.
Yeah. I'll vacuum, you take out the trash.
So true. That's like date number one, non-negotiable. Maybe
Oh
not
gosh.
date number one.
That might scare them.
Yeah, absolutely. I take that back. I promise I won't be that crazy.
Oh my gosh.
No, it's just true. Well, is there anything you feel like we didn't cover that you want to chat about?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say it again, even though I say it 100 times. I'm just really like so thankful. It's only the Lord that could have ordained our friendship. I wholeheartedly believe that. And even the way that your family welcomes me in, and I feel like in a Hendricks, like in
Yeah.
family traditions and stuff. And even Miss Annie living with us, Annie B,
Yes.
your niece,
My
your
Annie
dog.
Boo Boo.
Yeah, your dog niece.
Mm-hmm.
Even when it comes down to this podcast, there's stuff that like we used to joke about that SpongeBob and Patrick meme where like
Mm-hmm.
Patrick is absolutely squeezing the living daylights out of SpongeBob, and it's like an introvert and an extrovert best friend.
Yes.
Um, but you always encouraged me to be more me, and you always go out on a limb on the things that you're like, oh my gosh, she's crazy, and we're gonna do it again. Like even getting behind the microphone.
Yeah.
I know it's a
This was
challenge.
fun.
It's fun, right?
Yeah.
Once you
I'm
start
so
doing
proud
it.
of you.
Oh, I love you. Thank you. Couldn't do it without you. Truly. Truly. Well, the very final question.
Ooh.
What would you say is the one word that would describe the current chapter of your story?
Mm. Oh wow. I'm like kind of between two.
Okay, share them both.
Okay. I'm gonna say growth.
Mm,
Um, I feel like turning 30 has like shifted something.
Yes.
I don't know. So I'll say growth, but then also I think surrender.
Mm.
Also another part of turning 30.
Yeah.
Surrendering some things that I did that I thought would be here by now, but they aren't.
Yeah.
So just surrendering to that.
Yeah. Being in that place of it's not what I hoped,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna release it because I still don't have any control of it anyway.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, there you have it, folks. Maybe we'll convince her to come back for another episode
I don't know. One and done.
because she has so much more wisdom to share. Well, let's go get ready for the Jags game.
Yeah. Go Jags.
Go Jags. We really should. Like, I want to do the do ball, but
I
I'm
can't. I
no,
hate it.
no, I'm like embarrassing.
It's so
when I do it.
embarrassing.
It's so embarrassing. But we have a river taxi on the horizon,
Yes.
and hopefully a win against the 49ers.
Yeah. Some pigs in the blanket.
That's what we definitely have on the horizon. It's pigs in a blanket.
Okay, sadly, the Jags lost in horrible fashion, and we also did not, in fact, eat piggies in a blanket. But good times were still had by all. Can we please beg Kelsey to come back on the show? Being behind the mic is so not her favorite thing, but her story and her life constantly affirms me and challenges me to be better, and I'm sure so many of you feel the same. I'm constantly overwhelmed with the gratitude that the Lord intertwined our lives because He knew we needed each other and would thrive as friends. Kelsey's friendship is a picture of God's faithfulness to me, and I will forever be so thankful. Please follow Kelsey via the link in my show notes or leave a comment on Instagram about what you learned from today's episode. I'd even love for you to tag your best friend in the comments and tell them why you're really grateful for them. Speaking of Instagram, please follow Share Your Story with Ellie and me at the Ellie B on Instagram. And also, I'd love if you could rate, review, and share the show, maybe with your best friend or just someone who needs this piece of wisdom. It really means more to me than I can express. Thank you so much for tuning in this week and learning more about some of my best people. I cannot wait to see you back here on Tuesday.